Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Hello, everybody. I'm very excited to be back in Amsterdam. I really love these states. I'm Alex Kyriakidis. Originally, I'm from Greece, and I live here in Amsterdam for the last 5 years, where I have been solely working on Vue School. You can find me on social under the username of Hootlix. My talk today is about what to love about Vue in 2023. And there is really so many things to be excited about Vue.js currently that it was quite challenging to choose what would be the highlights to include in this talk. I even got an extension in my talk duration so that I can fit a bit more. But it was important for me to make it interactive so that you can also see what of the things you already knew and also see how the rest of the audience use some libraries or what they know and how they use the ecosystem in Vue.js. And in this talk, I have over 40 resources today. And in order to participate, you need to pick up your phone and scan this QR code here. And it's completely anonymous. You just scan it. You are directly inside the game. I really hope the Wi-Fi works. If it doesn't work, you can test the... Yeah, you can see the people joining on the corner. So yeah, if the Wi-Fi doesn't work, you can try your data. And we will be good to go. I will give you a few more seconds to connect before we do the question check. Yeah, if all goes well, I'm also going to publish the results along with a talk for every question after the presentation. OK, I think with over 100 people, we are good to get started. The first question is a system check, and it goes, what is your favorite framework? Vue.js, React, Angular, jQuery. And you can see how the bars change while you vote. Awesome. jQuery. OK, so assume like we have our user base to continue with the survey. So the next question is about Vue School. So do you know Vue School? And the answers are, I'm using it, I have heard of it, haven't used it, I haven't heard of it. That is the options. Very interesting. And I haven't done this test before. So far, I'm very excited it works. I even got this subscription to this service yesterday, to be honest. So I'm really happy that it functions. Awesome. Great to see we have over 200 people voting live here. Awesome. Wow, a lot of people have heard of Vue School and haven't used it. Very interesting. So at Vue School, for the ones who don't know it or haven't used it, Vue School is the first learning resource for Vue.js. We started back in 2016. And over the years, we have created hundreds of video lessons on all of the things Vue.js and the ecosystem. And our mission is to make Vue.js education available and accessible to everyone around the world. 2022 has been an amazing year for Vue.js and for Vue School. And we educated over 1,500,000 developers. And this is the amount of people who have visited Vue School in the year, which is 22% higher compared to the amount of people who joined us on 2021. And 2021 was also hot because people had to figure out what's up with the Vue 3 and the composition API and everything. So OK, now we are all set up, and we're ready to dive into what to love about Vue in 2023. And the first thing that is very exciting for Vue.js is the growth of Vue.js to date. In 2023, Vue.js has already 3 times the traction of last year. I didn't bother to make a slide. I just took a picture of Evan where he shows the January comparison, 22-23. So you see it's like about 3 times more, which is very exciting for all of the Vue.js community. So this is one of, I think, of the most interesting questions of the survey. And sorry, it's the next question, the most interesting. This is just a quiz. So how many websites use Vue.js? OK. Lots of different opinions. OK, so time is done. Most of the people got it right. The correct answer is 4 million websites. So up to date, there is more than 4 million websites that use Vue.js. And take a moment to realize how massive this amount is. It's like 4 million. This is about half the population of Greece. And in these 4 million websites that use Vue.js, there are all sorts of companies, like from small agencies, freelancers, and even huge corporations like Google, Wikipedia, Microsoft, NASA, and whom not. So it is a very exciting moment for the Vue framework. And if you use Vue DevTools, you will see it very often that it will highlight, oh, Vue.js is detected on this page. So if you use it also when you browse the internet for personal use, you will see that a lot of the websites that you use daily, they are made with Vue.js because it's literally everywhere. The important milestone that Vue.js has reached now is that the ecosystem of Vue.js has matured and stabilized. And Evan also mentioned this briefly today, that in 2022, the migration of the ecosystem has been completed because Vue 3 has been around for a while, but the ecosystem needed time to adapt and migrate and get also their full, all of the users of the plugins and the libraries to adapt and use the latest libraries. And in 2022, we had the last missing pieces of the puzzle to support Vue 3 as a default. That includes Vuetify and Nuxt, and with them, we are ready as an ecosystem and as a community to go full on Vue 3, as Vue.js 2 will also come to an end of life to the end of this year. So with that, currently there are Vue.js libraries for every need, and now this is the most interesting questions of the survey. So the first question is, what are some libraries that you haven't heard of? So here I have a list of libraries that I think that they have very high potential. And some are popular, some are less popular. And what are the results? Cool. So take your phone and you can do this multiple choice. I hope I can. Yeah, we'll give you more time for this. So you can choose all of the ones that you have never heard of, and then you can submit it in the end as a complete answer. Really? That is unfortunate. I can fix the next one. Or if you want, we can do this one again. OK, I will stop you. Yeah, sorry for the spoiler. So, multiple answers. Save. Can you do multiple now? Awesome. So while you do this, I will also fix the next one. OK. Awesome. I think, yeah, I think we can check this later. So the next one is the reverse, and this is the libraries that you have used. So this is not that you don't need to necessarily use it all of the time, but or that you have heard of it, but that you have used it at least once. And this should be now multiple choice, that you can choose all of the libraries that you have used and submit them all at once. Yeah, now it makes more sense. Now the results make more sense. It didn't make sense that it went so high and so low in the previous question. OK. Yeah, I think I will give you one more 25 to submit. Wow, so Vue 18 is the winner so far. Very interesting. We have a winner, and it is Vue 18. And then on the second place, we have, I think, Nuxt. Yeah, Nuxt, and then Cypress and Vuetify. Cool. So I have chosen some libraries to highlight today, and I try to not go with the most popular ones that there is a lot of talks or that they are that they have the biggest adoption, but I want to highlight some libraries that I think they have great potential to grow, and that they can be particularly helpful for your project if you have a specific need. The first library that I will highlight is a Quasar that is the enterprise-ready cross-platform Vue.js framework. And Quasar is very impressive. I think it's a bit underrated as well, because it allows you to build applications that are cross-platform, but not just responsive, and that you can do, of course, like server-side rendering, or do the Quasar. You can have server-side rendering, SPA, PWA, but you can also build applications like mobile apps or desktop apps and browser extensions, all from one framework. So it has all of the options, and it can be an alternative to two frameworks that I will show you in a bit. But it also includes a component library. So it has elements like avatars, badges, cards, and all of the things that it has the complete toolkit, essentially, to build an app from the components, the structure, the SSR, and then bundle it for all of the platforms that you might need. And Quasar is an alternative to Nuxt.js, which I think is the most popular SSR and SPA framework for Vue.js, but it can also be an alternative to Vuetify, as it doesn't need to be used to build the complete, to make cross-platform apps. Even if you just make web apps, you can use Quasar, for example, as a component library, and it can even be an alternative to Ionic if you are building desktop and mobile apps. The next library I would highlight is FormKit, and FormKit is a relatively new library, and as they say on their website, you can build Vue 3 forms 10 times faster. And I think it's a pretty cool library. I have their website here. For some reason, the iframe, I need to refresh the HTML, and then it works. So it's good. So this is how you make forms with FormKit. Essentially, it's a Vue component that it gets some options, and it binds to a Vue model, in this case, the data. And then every element that we see here, it is just one line in your HTML. And it includes things like validation. It takes custom rules and custom messages and whatnot. And it's really nice how it creates like the visual of it. So if you take this from select and you make it radio, it will automatically look like this. If you want to have it like multiple and you make it like a checkbox, it will be a checkbox. And then all of these options will be stored in the corresponding data. So if you are working with forms, I think you should definitely check out FormKit. Next, I have Vueuse, and I think Vueuse is like really amazing. Raise your hand if you use Vueuse. Awesome, like a decent amount, but I think it should be 4 times as much. So Vueuse is like a massive time saver for Vue developers. It is a collection of over 200 functions for any app. And essentially, they are utilities that you can use browser features without having to write the code, but instead you would use the composable. So for example, it has functions like on-click outside, which is something that maybe you have coded 10 times. Or use draggable, like very easy way to implement drag and drop functionality. Use ref history that you can do, undo, redo, and features like this. So my recommendation, like for moving forward, is every time you make a new feature that you need to do something with the browser, take like 30 seconds and search in Vuejs if they have it already. Like they have the focus, they have local storage, global state. Like just take 30 seconds, search in Vuejs, and if there is no library, then go ahead and make it because it's very likely that your use case has already been implemented. Awesome. Next, I have this like a cool UI library that is called Naive UI. I really fancy their description on their website. They say they are fairly complete, theme customizable, uses TypeScript fast, and kinda interesting. And I agree, it's kinda interesting. I haven't used it personally, but I have had great feedback from people that use Naive UI. And it is a UI kit. It comes with all of sorts of elements you would expect from a UI kit, like avatars, buttons, cards, and whatnot. But it's really nice because it also looks pretty by default. What do they do? So you can, you would copy this element, and you would have this pretty carousel in your app in a second. So I think it's a nice alternative, especially if you're looking for a fresh look and you are tired of using the same UIs all of the time. I think that Naive UI might be worth a shot. No? OK. The next highlight is for a library called Vue Macros. Vue Macros allows you to explore and extend more macros and syntax sugar for Vue.js. And this is their website. And here you can see the collection of the macros. And to show you an example, the define options, it allows you to define component options from within script setup. So here you can define, for example, the component name. And this is a feature that it doesn't exist in the Vue.js core. So if you want to define a component name, you would have to add another script tag to do that. But you can use this macro, and you can do it directly from the script setup, or you can see other macros that can be helpful for your project. But what is really cool about Vue Macros is that it also supports the development of the framework. So if you notice in this one, it says, if you support this feature, feel free to give it a thumbs up or comment on the RFC discussion. And this way, if a lot of people use one of the macros and the RFC has a lot of traction, and the feature can progress and eventually become part of the Vue.js core. So this is a great way to contribute to the development of the framework. And it can also be an answer if you wonder sometimes why is a feature dropped or why is this one prioritized over another. It is often affected by the discussions in the request for comments on GitHub. Next, I have the Storefront UI. Storefront UI is a design system and UI library for e-commerce. And again, a UI library, but this one is specific for e-commerce apps, and it has all of the things like filters, tags, searches, and product item sizes, and all of the things that you would use in e-commerce. And it's a collection of components that you can see in the end. So how the full page looks is like that if you're using Vue Storefront UI, you can copy-paste this full template. You will throw in your data, and you will have something that looks pretty like this with all of the all of the elements. Of course, you need to make the code for this to work for the filters and stuff. But I think it's like it's a must-use UI if you are making custom e-commerce apps with Vue.js. Like I said, there is a lot of libraries that it can be highlighted. I didn't have the time to include like too many in this talk, and I want to move to the next chapter. But here is a list of other libraries that I think they have great potential for 2023, and they can be very useful for your use case. So either take a picture of the slide, but I will also share the slides after the talk, so you can check some of them out if you haven't heard of them before. And the next chapter is the Vue.js education. And the education, rich resources, and ability to keep up and master a framework are key factors for being a successful developer and building great software. And Vue.js, it's by nature and easy-to-learn framework. It also has great documentation and content available today. And I think it has one of the greatest learning experience in the official guide. And initially, Vue.js became popular due to its simplicity to learn, like get started and be able to build, as well as the excellent quality of their documentation. Vue.js, they also have this interactive tutorial, which I think is underrated and it should be used more, which is a series of 15 steps where you can learn some features from Vue.js interactively, and you can even choose if you want to learn with a composition API, options, HTML, or single file components. And it is available on vuejs.org/tutorial. And one thing that I find very impressive about the Vue team is how much they care about their software and the tools that they provide for the developers. So this interactive tutorial, it uses this custom library they have made that it's this REPL read eval print loop that essentially gets your code and parses it on the screen. And this is the same library that it is also used in the request for comment. So when there is a new feature discussion or dropping a feature or a use case, they will have an interactive example where you can try the new stuff and give your feedback before a decision is taken. Awesome. Continuing with education, like Vue.js is the only framework I know that it has 2 excellent training platforms that are dedicated to teaching solely Vue.js, which is very impressive. And these are like Vue School and Vue Mastery. And I would like to highlight some of the content that we have at Vue School, that we have 3 forms of training. We do video courses, tutorials, and workshops. This countdown is stressing me out. It says 2 minutes, but I know I have much more. So at Vue School, we have created 47 courses and over 900 lessons on all of the things Vue.js at the ecosystem. And these are some of the latest courses that we have developed recently, and I would like to highlight some that I think will be a great companion for Vue developers this year. And these are the Visual Studio Code for Vue.js developers, the Nuxt.js 3 fundamentals, the robust Vue.js forms with FormKit, build a drag-and-drop Trello board with Vue.js, TypeScript with Vue.js 3, and JAMstack, the complete guide. We're also working on a course with Anthony on rapid testing with Vitest, and Anthony is in fact the instructor of the course. We have already released part of the curriculum, and we are going to continue with the rest lessons once we are back from the conference. So we should complete this course in the next couple of weeks. And if you didn't know this about Vue School, all of our courses are accessible under one subscription. It is like Netflix, but for Vue developers. Besides the video courses, we have written hundreds and hundreds of tutorials, and there is some great value in our tutorials. They're very similar to documentation, and we follow the developments of the frameworks and the new tools. And all of the tutorials are free, and you can access them on vueschool.io/articles. Great. Another resource I would highlight is the Mastering Nuxt 3 course. That this is a new course. It was released only a few months ago, and it is the complete guide to developing and deploying Nuxt 3 applications. This course is developed in partnership with the Nuxt team, and it is taught by Michael Thyssen, an excellent Vue.js educator. And since it is in partnership with Nuxt, not only you get the hottest tips and insights on how to use the framework efficiently, but you're also supporting the development of the Nuxt framework, since 25% of the revenue goes directly to Nuxt. Awesome. Next, let's talk about the Vue.js community. Vue.js has developed an amazing community around the world, and it is one of the most welcoming and warm communities. And it's great now that we have, again, the possibility to meet, not only in person, but in general, like to exchange ideas, help each other, work together, and improve the framework and of course our projects. For a community, it's very important also to have in-person gatherings, and there is a lot of in-person events nowadays. Here I'm highlighting some of the biggest ones, which is, first of all, Vue Amsterdam. Vue Amsterdam is the largest one in the world. Then there is Vue Live in London. VueConf USA in New Orleans takes place in May. And there is also a conference called VueFest in Japan that will be later in the year in Tokyo. So it's really nice to see that people have the possibility to group with other Vue developers and experts together and learn. There is also a lot of online conferences in the Vue.js ecosystem, and the online conferences have also this problem that it's hard to find the good ones or the ones that are like worth your time, because there is like thousands of online conferences. But there are some conferences that are like really great online conferences that are worth attending. Vue Amsterdam is also broadcasted online. So here I'm highlighting some of the conferences that are the largest and are definitely worth your time, and these are Vue Nation, Vueforge, and Nuxt Nation. And at these conferences, there are often large releases. For example, the new Vue 3 documentation site was released by Evan You at Vue.js Nation last year, and the Nuxt 3 stable release was released live on Nuxt Nation this November. And the online events and having quality online events is very important, because it makes the conference available to everyone around the world. And the Vue community, it is not just us that we have the luxury to travel in Amsterdam and gather this like 1,000 people together or in any continent, but the Vue community is anybody who uses Vue.js and want to learn, want to become better, want to contribute. They want to be part of the community. So it is very important that there are good and accessible online events. And over the last year, over 60,000 people from around the world, they joined one of these online conferences. And I also want to give a shout out to all of the speakers that they take time out of their very busy schedule to prepare talks and to present either online or in person. And very often they are also the same people that create open source, and they do all of this stuff not for profit, but because they want to make the developer lives better. Okay. Thank you. And quick question. I think you know where this is going. Pick up your phones. And the next question is an easy one. It is, what is Vue.js Forge? Options are just another conference, a coding competition, a dancing competition, it's already popular, hands-on coding event, and a coding competition. Okay, probably it's a dancing competition. For Vue developers only, or can other framework developers join? Awesome. Yeah, kudos to you that you made this a winner. Okay, awesome. So the answer is like, unfortunately, you got it wrong. It's a hands-on coding conference. It is not a coding competition either. And it is a conference where Vue developers get together to build real apps, and people join independently, but they can be parts of online teams and meet new people from the community or code along solo. During the last episodes of Vue.js Forge, we built a Trello clone and an e-commerce application, which was pretty cool both times, and a lot of people and a lot of experts from the Vue community live coded the solutions, and together they built the complete thing. And I find it very impressive that over 18,000 people joined Vue.js Forge from all sorts of companies, small, large, like students, teachers, and who not. And I really appreciate that there are people who take time to volunteer to these events. Like there were 120 mentors who volunteered 2 days of their life to help the participants and the coders debug their applications, solve the challenges, find the solutions in order to achieve the goal. So this is a really nice incentive from people from the community to participate. If you are interested in Vue.js Forge, the next episode takes part in April, and you can sign up for free on Vue.jsforge.com. Great. Next category is Vue.js news. As a Vue developer, it's very important to be able to keep up with the news and the developments of any framework or technology that you use. And there are a couple of ways to keep up with the Vue.js news, and these are the Vue.js blog, several newsletters, and on Twitter. And oftentimes, the creators will share some insights on Twitter before they become a reality or before they publish them anywhere else. And this is the viewpoint. This is the official Vue.js blog. It is available on blog.vuejs.org. And the maintainers of Vue.js, they often publish updates here, tips, and opinions. And Evan Yu also writes on the viewpoint quite often, so I would definitely recommend making this a part of your news sources. They also have an RSS feed. This is a new page that they have added to the documentation recently, the community newsletters that include some great newsletters from the community that you can follow. I will highlight a couple briefly. Firstly, Vue.js feed. They publish resources on Vue.js and news, I think, daily. Michael sends a weekly newsletter with exclusive tips and insights. And Vue.js developers send the best articles in your inbox weekly. And they have been sending the newsletter since Tuesday, 2017. So it takes great commitment. Cool. Next, we have the Vue.js job market. And the job market of the Vue.js framework has skyrocketed. Currently, there is a lot of jobs for Vue developers and also a lot of Vue developers to fill in the positions, which is very important. And it was a struggle when the first years that Vue.js was getting started. One great resource for keeping up with Vue.js jobs or finding developers is called vuejobs.com. And they have been around since 6 years now. And they recently launched a cool new website that looks like this. I wonder, has anybody found a job from vuejobs.com? Can you raise your hand? OK. Interesting. Next resource. Next resource for hiring is the Vue School Hiring app. This is a new application that we launched at Vue School last year. And this is a platform where developers can create a professional profile and define the Vue.js skills they have, like Vue, like Vuex, Pinia, GraphQL, like all of the things you know. And then companies can sense the system to connect with developers that use the stack they need, and they can chat and make hires from the platform directly. So if you are hiring or if you're looking for a job, I would definitely recommend the hiring app. Even though it's new, there are already more than 2,000 Vue developers actively looking for jobs, and multiple hires have been made already, including a Cisco company that hired multiple Vue devs from the app. Cool, and let's get interactive again for the last part of the talk, and that is, in the past 12 months, I have worked on, and the options are Vue application only, both Vue and non-Vue applications, non-Vue applications only. I'll give you another 20 seconds. Awesome. So I see a lot of people work both on Vue.js and non-Vue Vue applications. I feel a bit sorry for the last segment, that you have to work only on non-Vue apps. That doesn't sound fun. But what I'm going to show you is going to be very helpful for you, for people that work on non-Vue applications. And this has to do with a composition API. So the composition API, like, it's an exciting moment now for it, and you can say it's not new. It's been around for a few years, but Vue.js as a community, we needed some time to understand the value and all of the benefits the composition API brings in order to really embrace it. And now, after so much time, we have come up to speed. We have synced, and composition API has become part of our stack, or at least we know it's going to become part of our stack. And I want to show something that you can say is the underrated awesomeness of the Vue composition API. I'm sure you might have heard it, but I'm not sure how many people actually use this part of the composition API. So this is particularly helpful if you're working on non-Vue applications. The fact that you can use composition API inside Vue, but also in non-Vue applications, in HTML or any other sorts of applications. So I'm going to show you how you can use the composition API with a library called handlebars. I haven't heard of it either until like a few weeks ago. A friend asked me, like, he's a Vue developer, and one day he said his problem that he works in a very large agency developing websites, and he was assigned in an application that was like legacy code, maybe 7, 8 years old, and they had to work on to add new features and maintain it for a little while until they complete a milestone, with no plan to migrate, of course no luxury to rewrite the full system, like it's a massive application, to rewrite it with Vue.js or any other framework. They have, though, the flexibility to install libraries, like the same way how you would install Lodash or any other helper utility, you can install Vue.js. So in order to help him, I just spent maybe 2 minutes to check the handlebars documentation to figure out that it is just a templating language. And it also uses the mustache syntax, that is the same with Vue.js, but it is not interactive. So this is just how they print things in the browser. And by the way, I saw that the handlebars use Vue.js to build their documentation, so I thought that was a good sign. So this is a very simple handlebars application. It shows what it has on the browser here. So it has some text. Then it has this button that when it's clicked, it increases the counter that displays the number and the double of that number. And in the template, it has this button that runs. If you remember how we used to do reactivity, that we use the onClick, and we say run this function when this happens, and has a div with ID of counter, where when it runs, it's going to mount this script that has this template, which is just number is number, double is double, essentially this part. So in the JavaScript, and I think it's like a very interesting, they have a nice syntax at handlebars. So in the JavaScript, it takes the template from the DOM, and this is that script tag. It creates a compiler that's handlebars compile template, and then to render the counter, it finds the element with ID of counter, similar to the Vue.js logic, and runs this compiled template. So this is the data, the counter, render counter, and the function that when it runs, it will increase the number, it will fix the double, and it will update what we see on the screen. So when we don't have a reactivity system, if we don't run the render counter when this runs, then even though the data changes, we don't see them in the DOM. So it doesn't matter what the value of number is, because the DOM doesn't update. We always need to update the counter. And yeah, again, I'm no handlebars expert. I'm not showing you any best practice on handlebars, but this is more of like a quick way on how handlebars works. And here, I build the same feature using the composition API inside the handlebars, even using their compiler, because when you build and you work on a large app, you cannot replace the thing or change how their DOM or virtual DOM works. You have to work with what you have given. In this case, we have to build a counter. We have a div that we can insert it. The HTML is the same. So we have this div where we are making, let's say, a new feature for this handlebars application. So here, it is the same feature, but now it is using the composition API. If you see, we're importing computed ref and watch from Vue. And the template and stuff remain the same. With the composition API, we create a number that is just a ref, the double, a computed property, and we have the counter that I made a computed here as well. That is the value of number and double. And then we have the render counter function that finds our div. No, this is the same as before, it just finds a div and replaces it. The difference is that we have to use now counter value. That is the only difference. And the beauty of this now is that we don't need to run any updates when we run the increase counter function. So the increase counter, it only has to increase the value of the number, but it doesn't have to care about the double. It doesn't have to care about updating the template, because we have a watcher that watches the counter, and every time the counter changes, it will update the DOM. And yeah, and with that, essentially, we can have a reactivity system inside a non-reactive or a static application, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, here we made it. Like, we have composition API and Vue.js in a non-Vue application, and I'm sure you wonder why. Why on earth? Why on earth did we do that? Why would we want to have that composition API inside the Handlebars project? And there are some very good reasons that you might want to do this. Firstly, it is great that you are able to use the framework you know, especially for applications that you don't maintain, or for applications that you're going to work for the short term, are small, etc. And you can even copy-paste your code from your Vue app to any other app. You can bring in your composables. So if you have a good architecture and you have a lot of files that you have created with functionality from your apps, or if you are an agency and you have a lot of different projects, you can have a centralized store of your composables, and then you can use these utilities in any application, Vue or non-Vue, it doesn't matter. And you can also use the Vue ecosystem and your favorite libraries. So inside this Handlebars example, we could use, for example, Vue.js and Pinia. And like, injecting composition API in non-Vue apps is also an excellent first step for beginning a migration. So if you are planning to migrate an application from something to Vue.js in the long term, you can start adding the new features with a composition API, and when you are ready, it will be in a very good state to be migrated. And yeah, lastly, keep the same mindset and essentially build faster and better, because if you had to learn Handlebars all of a sudden, or any other library that you could face at a day, it can take a lot of time to build, maintain features, and you are going to definitely have a lot of bugs in a new mindset. Thank you. I will not go into this code, but just like a quick case that here I'm using the Vue.js mouse cursor inside, again, this app, and it works the same as you would expect. And lastly, I will close with an exciting new project. Oh, and here I had a note to drink water. Great. This is to create some suspense and clear our mind after that mind-blowing Handlebars experience. We are very excited for the new project that we are releasing soon at Vue School. Many of you might already have seen this at our booth. And this is the official Vue.js certification program. Vue School has partnered with the Vue.js organization to develop the Vue.js certification that will define the standard of what it means to be a competent Vue developer. And we're working together to ensure that it will be an excellent experience for all of the developers who participate in the program. And we have been working for months creating the structure, including study guides, hands-on practical exercises to get ready for it, and even an online bootcamp for anyone who needs it. The goal of the certification is, first of all, to provide reassurance to developers. And once developers prepare and pass with studying and passing an exam, we can feel confident that we know our stuff and we can do a Vue.js role successfully. And the program will also provide guarantee to employers, and hopefully can also shorten the hiring process and can make it more efficient. So instead of necessarily having their own custom tests and developers have to take the tests for every job application they have, they can have done this one and official exam upfront. The format of the exam will include questions on theory, coding, and best practices. And if you're already using Vue 3 to build web applications at your job and you're already a professional, you're probably just fine to take the exam. But yeah, we always recommend that you take the time to check out the study guide. That's why we made it as well. And it's always good to go through the Vue.js documentation. Things might change. You might have missed something. And if there is a chance you find something and made your job easier, then why not just spend a couple of hours to study for it? Lastly, I want to say that all of the assessments are developed by the Vue experts at Vue School, and all of the questions will be approved by Evan Yu himself, so you can be rest assured you are answering up-to-date and professionally crafted questions. If you're interested in the program, you can sign up for updates on certification.vuejs.org. You can also contribute to it as we're conducting surveys to figure out how it will be the most helpful for the community. And you will also have access to early bird pricing once we launch it. And that was it. If you like Vue School, you can grab our t-shirt at our booth, and we also have a lot of stickers on Vue School, Vue.js, Pinia, and so on. We would love to meet you, so come say hi. If you have any questions for the certifications, workshop, or training, we would love to discuss with you. And that's it from me. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the